Okay. I mean, I type in 339, but you get the idea. Now, anytime I need that macro, right there. So in this case, that's going to allow me to solve it, right? Oops, I don't want that. I don't even know how I got here. What? Oh, because I need to be mad. Oh, my target present should be 0. I'm sorry. In this case, that's my format. So let me make that -3. Apparently, -1 solves that equation. Okay. Or so on and so forth. So anytime you have an output that's function of a lot of inputs, and you know what the output should be, you know all the other inputs except one, all you have to do is be in solver mode and change the inputs as you like. Of course, I'm going to give you, I mean, let's save this. Actually, I'm going to give you my full-blown thing because it has some bells and whistles on it. Uh, Let me save this for now. Let me close this thing. Let me open what I did for my basic finance class. Now, oh, I did it here. Okay. This is actually an extended version. This time it's present or future value of annuities. The other bells and whistles I put here is basically the tolerance. I calculate the difference in a different place, but it's pretty much all the same. You know, if we were doing this, for example, to calculate something like modified internal rate of return for, project evaluation purposes, same idea. Modified internal return is the solution of an equation. Done. All I have to do is change inputs. This is basically a generic setup. I will give you guys this. You can go through the code itself. If you go to Developer tab, Visual Basic, you look at the workbook codes. These are stuff that are at the workbook level. In this case, I'm just telling Excel what to do when one of the sheets is deactivated, or at the workbook level, what happens if worksheet changes, what happens if there's a double click. or the code itself. Okay. I also have some bonus functions here. Uh, let me see. For example, present and future values of growing annuities. Excel doesn't have functions for those. I got about 10 minutes. Let me show you this function. It's a weighted average function. In Excel, there is no weighted average function. You can calculate it. Example, let me create a blank sheet here. Suppose I have, I'm going to generate 10 random numbers. Or let's do this. I'm going to do random integers between 10 and 100. And I'm going to attach random weights between 0 and 1. And they don't necessarily add up to 1. Okay. So this is number, weight, and weighted average would be, if you want to do a formula, sum products of the numbers and weights divided by sum of the weights. If the weights add up to 1 naturally, you don't need to divide by anything. So sum product will get you the weighted average. Either way, that takes care of it. Suppose you want your own function. Visual Basic. You actually start that with a function. Functions have inputs, okay? And here I'm basically checking errors. I mean, if I don't want to do the calculation, if the number of rows in the weights and the values to be weighted average are different, when you have a range, it has a certain number of rows and you can count that. If that's not the same for the weights and the values, just say make the value unequal rows, get out. Otherwise, again, similarly, if the columns are not the same, because ranges may have multiple columns, and otherwise, I'm basically telling Excel to use the worksheet function. That's how you access a worksheet function, by saying application.worksheet function dot. But now I could do weighted average. When you have a function available, you don't necessarily remember the spelling. Just type a few letters. A few candidates come. That's what I want. Those are my numbers. And those are my weights. I don't know. Apparently, I made a mistake. I shouldn't have. Oh, yeah. See, unequal columns. So that should be, oops. Okay. It's not because weighted average is a complicated thing. Sometimes you need your own function with error checking and stuff. So let's stop here. Uh, on Thursday, we're going to start with chapter 6, options and futures to manage exchange rate exposure. I'll post your homework sometime tonight on chapter 5.